The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. How is everybody doing?
They look
Can you
pretty
hear me,
active in the
Sarah?
chat.
You're there? Okay, good.
I'm here.
You can hear me.
I'm here. No, they look pretty active in the chat. This is awesome.
Traveling Teresa. I watch all of my YouTube shows on my TV. And speaking of getting old, I told Tara just a little bit ago, I was like, I am so tired. By 7:30 at night, I'm exhausted. I said, we're going to have to start doing these evening ones in the afternoon, kind of to adjust to my schedule in my 50s, I guess.
It comes with being a parent, grandparent. It's just part of our life. At some point, right, we evolve to late nights, early mornings, and we just sleep as a delusion in life. I look forward to that point in my life.
Oh, boy, me
I
too.
really do.
All right.
We've got a lot of great individuals tonight in the chat. Some very familiar faces and some new ones. And I recognize a few of those. That's pretty exciting. You guys draw quite a crowd, Kari.
Oh, yeah.
You've got quite the following. It's
Yes,
very
thank
nice.
you. Thank you guys very much. All right. So tonight we are going deep into one of Idaho's most haunting cases, and that is the disappearance of Michael Joseph Monkey Vaughan. It's been now more than 3 years since Michael vanished from his own neighborhood in Fruitland, Idaho. And the new probable cause affidavits for Stacey and Sarah Wondra, who are married. Stacey is the male, for those that aren't familiar with the case, and Sarah is the wife. But the new affidavits finally expose what investigators believe really happened that day with Michael Vaughan. So let's get started. And if you're familiar with the case, would you just put a 1 in the chat? Anybody else real familiar? I know a few of you are.
I know I am. I mean, regardless, we've got familiar faces in the chat. They're good following of viewers, and
yeah, I'll give you a really good overview of the case, and then let you know what's in the probable cause. We're not going to read the probable cause, just like we didn't last Tuesday in the Kansas Moms case. I think it gets a little boring and repetitive, so we're just going to give you a good breakdown of the highlights, the most important parts that you need to know out of that probable cause. So we'll take the 8 pages and condense it for you. So July 27th, 2021. It was a quiet Tuesday night. Michael was outside playing around 6:30 p.m., knocking on neighbors' doors, asking if he could play. So he was looking for a friend to play with. And everybody sends Michael home this night. By about 6:50 in the evening, his father, Tyler Vaughan, notices that little 5-year-old Michael is gone. And at 7:21 that night, he calls 911. Within minutes, police, FBI, and neighbors flooded those streets. So hundreds searched. I mean, there's helicopters overhead, dive teams in the Snake River, which is a river that runs by Michael's house, but nothing. And Michael was simply just gone. So let me play this brief clip. This is a press conference from December of 22, which would have been one of the first ones. And we're only going to watch just a little bit of this.
So I will tell you that this is a criminal investigation. So with that, you need to know that a majority of our investigative efforts just cannot be made public at this time. As members of the community, we agonize with the family, and we've dedicated our resources to bringing Michael home. So we believe the continued distribution of this story will generate more attention and tips that can be investigated by our department and our partners. So anyone having information regarding Michael's disappearance, I would ask that you please reach out to us. No tidbit of information is too benign or too obscure. It just helps us process the overall picture. We appreciate the efforts of the community, members of the media partners who keep this case at the forefront by promoting and sharing the story. And we encourage all of you to continue sharing the official poster from the Idaho Missing Persons Clearinghouse. I would like to introduce a new partnership today. It's called the Homeward Bound Program. The program was first started by Trooper Renee Padgett with the Washington State Patrol in 2005.
Was everybody able to hear that? I just wanted to play just that brief little portion of it. Let me add this back.
I think it came through loud and clear for me.
Okay, good deal. I'm always worried I'll play the whole thing and I can hear it, and I'm afraid that the audience is not hearing anything.
Same here, got way better, so you're good.
So the search lasted weeks, then months. Family was cleared early on, and there is no evidence of an abduction by a stranger, no sign that he had just wandered off. But one house kept drawing attention to law enforcement. When scent dogs canvassed 300 houses, every single one of those houses came up clean except one, and that was the Wondra's residence on Red Wing Street that was just a few blocks away from Michael's home. The dogs tracked directly to Michael's front yard, to their front door, and, that's not coincidence. Let's play this news clip here real quick.
So just real quick, when you say the scent dogs, those are cadaver dogs, right? They weren't tracking Michael's scent necessarily. They were tracking a scent for human remains.
I'm not sure at that point if they were, I believe they used multiple types of dogs. They used cadaver, They used scent dogs, they used all of them. The August 21st, I'm not sure if it was just scent dogs or both. Good question. Maybe this will answer it. So here we go.
Crews continue search efforts in the backyard of a Fruitland home, searching for the remains of missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan. Investigators have not yet shared information on what they've found, but we know now that crews could be there for the rest of the week. Police say a credible tip from someone who lives at the home led them to search the property, which is only a half-mile from the Vaughan family's home. Our Nicole Camarda has been on scene all day and has the latest.
Excavation continues at this home behind me, where police are searching for what they believe could be the remains of missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan. Now, police have not confirmed whether any remains have been found, but they say that there is a high probability that they are on this property. Earlier Tuesday afternoon, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff told us that this case is moving slowly in order for police to be accurate. He says there are a lot of moving parts to their investigation, and because this is a case he says will affect everyone, he wants to do it right. Now, for the last few days, crews have been using large, heavy machinery pulling dirt from the backyard and sending it off, and now they are using smaller equipment, and Huff says that is in order for them to be more precise as they continue moving forward. The backyard has not been fully processed yet, but soon after, crews will then start to process inside the home. Huff says crews could be out here for the rest of the week. It's unclear how long exactly this will take. Now, the Vaughan family has no connection to anyone that has lived inside the home that is currently being searched, but they do live just a few minutes away, and their street is completely blocked off, and police say that is to protect them during this investigation. Since Michael has gone missing, the entire town of Fruitland still has signs posted looking for Michael, and the community wants answers. It's unclear just how long this investigation will take or when we could be receiving any sort of updates, but as the chief said, the main goal is for Michael to be found and for this case to be accurate.
All right, so that was the search when they started digging up the backyard of the Wandra's home.
And the Wandra's home is on Red Wing Street.
Yes, and it's just like I said, just a couple blocks away from Michael's home. So days later, a pink big flyer tricycle and a child's stroller turned up dumped near the Three Rivers Bluff, which is over by Michael's home. A neighbor said that he'd pulled them from under a tree and just left them by a sign. And then another woman, her name was Kim Elko, told police that she'd seen that exact trike months earlier inside the Wandra's garage. She said it was the same color, same models, and same stacked boxes behind it. When investigators served the warrant, they verified later that those boxes were still there at that time. Living there inside the home at the time was Stacey and Sarah Wondra, plus Brandon Shirtlift and Adrian Lucian. When officers first arrived, Adrian was literally hiding in a closet.
So you've got Adrian hiding in a closet. Tell me, Stacey and Sarah Wondra have the same last name. What's the connection?
Just
I mean, I
friends.
know it, but our audience
Yeah,
may not
so
know.
they're all friends. Stacey and Sarah owned a taxi cab business. There some mental health problems involved. There's drug issues, alcohol issues involved with all of them. So,
So Stacey and Sarah Wondra, they have the
mhm.
same last name. They have similar first names. What is their connection? Are they
There
husband
is
and wife?
none. Yeah, they're husband and wife.
Or they
Stacey's
used to
her
be, I think
husband.
they're divorcing in the
Yes,
process.
yes.
So their connection has been romantic. That's why
Yeah,
they
they've been
share the
married.
last
Yeah.
name. And I just say this because some people may not, we've got a lot of people from the Kansas Moms case, so they may
Yeah,
not
they
be
don't
as
know.
familiar. But Brandon and Adrian are just friends of Stacey and Sarah Wondra.
Yes, yes. And actually, like since then, they moved on. So they've moved out of state. I believe that Brandon was actually just recently arrested, but I don't have enough information to go over it. I believe he was recently, very, very recently, arrested on drug charges. So I don't know what that situation is, but I'll look into it tomorrow. I just heard of it this evening, so.
Mhm.
So cell tower records and surveillance video placed all four of them in the area when Michael vanished. At 7:08 p.m., records revealed that Sarah driving a maroon GMC, Stacey was the passenger, and Brandon was in the back. At 7:26 p.m., they have a selfie from Adrian, who took a selfie in the bathroom of the Wonders home. And then at 11:22 p.m., the GMC returns towing a Mercedes. They all had four stories that just didn't really match the data that returned from those cell phone records. Now, those that actually followed the case, if you remember back, Sarah had a TikTok account, and it was wild, really wild. And especially after Michael disappeared, her TikTok really, really amped up, and I wish I still had all of those old TikToks, but they were crazy. So after that night that Michael disappeared, Sarah's behavior really exploded into something bizarre. And those of us that were following the case from day one watched it unfold. She stood on highway signs, holding signs saying things like "Repent your sins" and the end of time is near. On TikTok, she went from doing like 11 posts in 3 years to 329 posts in 3 months' time. And all of those posts were related to things like religion, guilt, and God forgave me. In several clips, you could also see Michael's missing flyer taped on the refrigerator right behind her.
Isn't that's
Creepy.
it blows your mind. Like, oh, it blows your mind.
So the first affidavit excerpt is a confession, and this is from Detective Kelleher's affidavit. He said Stacey Wondra said that when he first saw Michael, Sarah was carrying him into their home. Sarah used duct tape to keep him quiet, while Brandon and Adrian held a duffel bag open. Stacey said he heard a dull scream. He didn't claim ignorance. He described it detail by detail. That statement alone is enough to make me sick. And it was sworn under oath.
There's so little words. So as far based on what you're describing, he was Michael, the 5-year-old victim,
Mhm.
is inside the Wondras house per Sarah's testimony to the
In a
cop
duffel bag.
in a duffel bag. There's duct tape involved. So we have a scenario leading up to his final moments, is what we're
Yes,
describing
and
here.
yes, and this is what was revealed in the probable cause that just came out a couple of days ago, a few days ago, I guess it was. These are the things that were revealed in this. And again, we have to say this is all alleged because, they are innocent until proven guilty. So,
You and I both know I have my differing thoughts on that.
right. Okay, so I want to make sure it's on the right slide. They stopped on South Arizona, which is a street, so Brandon could check if Michael was still alive. Stacey said he heard a dull scream and then nothing. Moments later, he tells his mother Sarah accidentally killed him. Suffocation.
Mm.
Now, Stacey later went back and recanted. So this has been a long thing. I'm not going to show it this evening, but you can go on YouTube. You can find the confession video of
Mhm.
Stacey Wondra.
Well,
And that's
there's
really
quite a few
interesting to
videos of
watch.
Stacey
Yeah.
in the leaked videos. There's leaked videos of some of his testimony that are just as alarming as what you're showing on screen right now.
Yeah, Stacey, he liked doing interviews.
Ugh.
He really enjoyed, especially with YouTubers. He's an
Mhm.
interesting guy to say the least.
You're a kind woman.
And then, so the probable cause goes on to say that the next day, Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian brought Michael's body back to the Wondrous house. So they took it from there, and then they brought it back the next day. Brandon stood guard while Sarah and Adrian dug the hole together in the backyard. There was 5 separate cadaver dogs that later alerted on that exact spot. None of them were wrong. The soil had been refilled at that time. New sod had been laid down.
Mhm.
Kind of hard to deny.
So I'm going to hop in here for a second because you're
Yeah.
talking about cadaver dogs. Some of you may know, Kari knows, I am a member of the media officially. I write for a newspaper. I do human interest stories, not true crime for that particular newspaper. One of the articles I did was on an individual who owns cadaver dogs. So,
Oh, neat.
yeah, it was a very, very cool learning curve for me because these dogs are specifically trained and it takes quite a bit of time. It takes over a year in some cases to train these dogs. Every dog can be trained to do that when they want to. It's a desire of the dog. That's one thing. So it's not just one specific breed. She happened to have German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois. And what she told me, because she was part of the recovery efforts for the floods down in Texas with the camp of the small children, right?
Oh, goodness.
Yes. And so in her training, and so this is very, very specific, folks. It's very, very important. When you have a dog that is designed, they are trained for cadaver efforts. They are specifically designed for the scent. That means cadaver remains have been in the area and have left a scent or are still there and are providing the scent. And I found that very important because as I was prepping for tonight and I was reading back through the stuff, some of which I knew and some of which I didn't, I had seen the leaked video of Stacey guiding law enforcement in
The
the backyard.
confession.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Where he's like, Sarah dug the hole here and it's over in this area. You walk this way and you do this thing and you turn this. Like he gave very
Right.
specific instructions and the dogs signaled. So it's very, very important to understand smells are left behind just like oil, like the fingerprints, which are left by oil of a human. So just because, and this is very, very important because in Michael's case, there is a strong theory that he was buried in the backyard just as Stacey indicated and then moved because
Right.
his scent is still in the backyard, which is what the cadaver dogs were probably signaling. And when they signal, they're signaled specifically for cadaver only. They don't signal just because they're in a good mood. So cadaver dogs are very specifically trained
Yes.
for cadavers. They don't.
Yeah, I have a full-blood German Shepherd. I always wanted to get him into that. And then I didn't think about it maybe till he was about 3. He's 5 now. I don't have the time now, but that would be so cool to do. It really would.
Actually,
Duck, duck,
the training camp is in Oklahoma, Kari.
wow.
For
Yeah,
what they're
that
doing,
would
it's
be
in
really
Oklahoma.
neat. Like, I mean, I would love, the search and rescue part of it, regardless, with or without dog, but I would
Yeah.
love the dog or even my horses. If
Right.
I
So,
could just stay on.
but that's the thing is that they weren't looking for Michael's scent, right? Like they do missing persons.
Mhm.
There are dogs that are designed for missing persons. They're designed to follow an active scent. And then there are cadaver dogs that are designed to follow the scent of decomp specifically, knowing it's not supposed to move.
Right,
So
which is
that's why
what
the
those
dogs
5 hit on it.
Yes. That's why all the dogs hit on the scent. The scent is in the ground because something cadaverish was in the ground. Humans specifically. There is a difference between human cadaver and animal cadaver. Dogs are
Right.
trained specifically for human cadaver. These dogs hit that scent, which is why these people are the one and only suspect. This household, this backyard has been the single suspect. So I wanted to put that out there because when you go through court records, you go through all these things, they don't detail the expertise when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, and there are, I don't wanna use the word naysayers, but that's the best one I can come up with right now, so forgive me. But, there are people out there, there's other creators, other viewers that have a different opinion on this case,
Right.
and don't necessarily think that the Wondras are a guilty party and that they've kind of been taken advantage of, if you will. Um, and that's an interesting angle. But when we go back to what Tara was just talking about, and you have 5 cadaver dogs that hit on the spot right
Mhm.
where Stacey confessed that they would find him. Obviously, he'd been moved, so they did not find anything at that time. Duck Duck said anything to suggest that one or more were pre-planning abduction, or were they just driving by and thinking, "Hey, let's snatch a 5-year-old?" That's a really good question. I don't know
Yep.
that we really have the answer to it. I do know that Sarah was saying she wanted a baby and stuff. So there is that possibility. And I think we're just going to have to learn more as this plays out.
Well, Sarah and Stacey are going to have to come to terms with some of their decisions and bring forth some information, right?
Right.
Before we
Yeah.
understand. It may be
Well, and
easy
that
for
might be hard. If you guys
Right.
go and you watch Sarah's, um, one of her hearings, one of her very first hearings, actually, she calls herself Stacey when she's talking to the judge. She says she's Stacey, so she's really not all there, and she has been, she's able to proceed. They found her competent enough, but gosh, I don't know how they do the competency thing because to me, she's just does not seem competent at all. But
Well,
and that's why there are defenders of them.
right.
And I don't want to say like hard, cold defenders. No matter what, these people are innocent, but more of we haven't seen enough. I haven't seen, that the other people, not myself, haven't seen enough yet, including the probable causes, to glaringly say, yes, these two did it, rather than maybe Adrian and the other one did it, and these two, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there are people that have just enough doubt.
Agreed. I would probably throw some things out there that it's, and Kari and I can attest to this because of the Kansas mom case. Not everything is out there for public use in terms of information. Some things are kept hidden intentionally to uphold the integrity of the case.
Yes.
It would not surprise me that if this case, cops have withheld certain things so that when they do go to trial, when they do go to prosecute those who are responsible, they have an airtight case.
Yes.
There's a lot of true crime sleuths, keyboard warrior type people that are willing to step in and say, I have this information, when they really don't have the right information. Kari and I have learned that from the Kansas mom's case specifically, is be very careful with what you go forward with. And we've learned what we've learned the boundary.
Yes.
Some people have not, because 15 minutes of fame seems fairly valuable to certain people.
Well, and in this case, you know, they've had these suspects from the fairly early on. These have always been 4 suspects. That has never changed. It occurred early on. And I think, like you just said, they are just trying to build that airtight, solid case to bring these 4 to trial, because with it, they risk, you know, losing. So definitely, I think that they have been trying very hard to find where Michael's, I guess at this point we say remains, where his remains are, to further solidify their case, right? But in Idaho, they can prosecute without a body. It just makes it a lot easier for the state if they do have that. So
Agreed. So we've kind of veered off track a little bit here. You've got this interesting slide.
oh,
on
it's actually
the
a video. Let me play it real
we
quick.
can do that
We
too.
have
Videos are
breaking
great.
news right now.
There we
A
go.
warrant has been issued for Stacey Wondra, connected to the death and disappearance of little Michael Vaughan. He was 5 years old when he went missing in July of 2021 from outside of his Fruitland home. And now a Payette County lieutenant confirms Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence.
Back in 2022, police announced that Wondra, his ex-wife Sarah, and 2 other individuals were suspects or persons of interest in Michael's disappearance. Authorities searched the Wondra's home and their yard in Fruitland at that time. Sarah was charged with failure to report a death. That charge was later dropped, though. Stacey Wondra, who you just saw, is serving time out of state right now for a different crime. And the lieutenant we've talked to tells us he has not been extradited back to Idaho yet. Sarah currently serving time in an Idaho prison on unrelated charges.
Now, we did talk to Michael's mom, Brandy Neal. She sent us a statement this morning saying their family is filled with mixed emotions. She said, quote, all we have wanted is for Michael to come home, knowing that charges are coming forth to these monsters. We pray that they will finally tell us where Michael is. Michael deserves to be home with his family. There's one thing that just keeps ringing in my head right now, she says, and it's something that J.D. Huff said. He said that you cannot take one of our most precious citizens and ever expect us to stop. Now, Fruitland Police Department continues to live up to that statement. This is just the beginning to a very hard road for this family, they say. They say, we are here, we want justice. Michael will get his justice. We want Michael home, and we're never going to stop until we have Michael home.
This is, of course, a huge breaking story. We'll continue to update you throughout the morning and throughout the day here on KTVB and KTVB.com.
All right. Yes, Debbie, this is the little boy, Michael Monkey Vaughan. And I just, oops, where'd that come? Hey, I watch him too, though. He's really good. It must have
What
been
was that?
video. It was the next video playing. That's funny. And I just gave 5 memberships. So to the 5 that received those, welcome. We appreciate you being here. Catering said, hi, Kara and Terry, chat peeps. Good evening. Getting close to pulling all 4 monsters into custody. Absolutely. And it's been a time coming. His mom has just, she's really been through it. and her health. And thankfully, she is doing so much better now. And I've just always prayed she gets to see the day that they do get justice for her son. Yeah, Debbie, I call my son Monkey. His name is Michael, and I've always called him Monkey as well.
It's I don't understand this case. You see those pictures of that boy, of Michael, and he is adorable. He's got a loving look to him. So I cannot understand
Yeah.
a human being
And
that can
that
look
goes
at a
back
small child.
the question that was asked earlier, do I think it was like pre-planned? I don't necessarily think it was pre-planned. I do think that Sarah had definitely talked about the idea of her having a child, and how she went about those conversations, I don't know. But I think it was probably very much a crime of opportunity.
That's very likely. I've been doing a lot of true crime investigations lately. If you've been following the True Crime Insider Facebook page, I've been looking into some things and putting polls out there intentionally, not just for fun, but intentionally. Because there's a lot of things that happen out there that people wouldn't consider. And the idea, it happens frequently. People don't understand how often this happens when a woman who wants a child has not had a child or cannot have a child, and they look to other children in the world, be they newborns, young children, because these stories are all over the internet of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds being abducted, and they losing all their memories prior to abduction because of and this sounds crazy, this sounds weird, this sounds wrong to say, but the loving, caring, nurturing they get from their abductor intentionally to make them forget.
Yeah.
It is like it's Stockholm syndrome at the youngest. And apparently, if this was the case for Sarah Wondra, because Michael was so resistant, potentially, it went too far. It went way too far.
Yeah, I agree. Texas Bluebonnet, good evening. Don't worry
Hello,
about being
Texas.
late. Thanks for being here.
Texas is a repeat offender for this channel, so thank you, Texas, for being here. We appreciate it, and so is Patrick and Duck. There's a few others out there, so just to recognize you, repeat offenders. Thank you for being here. That's true
Yes.
crime jargon, repeat offender.
Definitely, we appreciate you guys. So moving on, in the probable cause affidavit, while describing how Michael was taped and stuffed into the bag, Stacey began violently vomiting. Detectives noted that in their writing. He wasn't throwing up from tobacco. He was breaking down, reliving what he saw, and guilt or shock, either way, it seems like truth leaking out. And that's when he was questioned about it. When he was telling law enforcement, hey, this is, what happened, he truly began to violently vomit.
That's such a weird thing for him to admit to. If you're going to admit to that, then
Oh,
tell
he
us.
didn't admit to it. He did it right in front of law enforcement.
Oh,
while
good.
they
Then
were
tell us where the
questioning him.
body's at. Tell us where
Right.
Michael's at. If you feel so damn bad that you're vomiting, tell us where Michael's at.
So, Sarah's statements during the search warrant, Sarah made statement after statement that contradicted each other. That is fairly normal for Sarah. She said, I definitely did not kill that boy. The Most High God told me Stacey was the one who did it, and he buried him by the shed. Then she asked officers over and over, have you found him yet? Later in jail, she told a guard, I don't know what body I saw. It was in a bag. I couldn't see it. So she's not denying that the body existed. It sounds like she's just trying to distance herself from it. Stacey's the one that did it. She didn't see what was in the bag, things like that. So 5 cadaver dogs hit in the yard. Their phone records changed 3 times in 5 months. They sold vehicles, they dumped phones, they swapped SIM cards, and a photo dated July 30th, 3 days after the abduction, shows their belongings already boxed up to move. Their web search history showed them actively looking for new rentals. So within days, they were trying to bounce.
Do you think that's okay? Let's draw a line here. You and I are not child abductors. We are not criminal people in that respect, right? Which is why when we hear things like that, where somebody took off within days after a child going missing and then they become suspects, that whole situation looks suspect, right?
Yeah, very.
Like, I mean, I've been in the midst of situations where the finger could be pointed at me, and because I knew I did nothing wrong, I'm like, "Yep, come at me, go ahead, tear me apart. That'll be fun for some of us." And then nothing was found. It's like pointed the wrong finger at the wrong person. Good luck to
Right.
you, though.
Mhm.
But when you duck and I know it's easy to duck and hide, right? Like that seems like the easy answer. I get that because I felt the same. Duck and hide. What is that called? Oh, it's boxing terms. It's stick and move or dodge and move, whatever the terms are to avoid getting hit.
Right.
But if you did nothing wrong, the hits hurt less after
Mhm.
they've landed because you did nothing wrong, right?
Yeah.
Is that I don't know, the chat needs to come forward with some of that because I would think when it comes and we are in the land of social media justice. It doesn't matter what a court of law says, social media
Right.
will destroy you before a
Well,
court of law
and
will.
in social media, the 4 are very guilty. So,
Oh
and
my
I'm one
gosh.
of those, definitely I believe that they are as well. I at least believe that Stacey and Sarah are, but I do think all 4
Well,
are
I
as
think
well
all
too.
4 have
And I think that we
eh,
will see more arrests here
well,
real soon.
I think it's very similar to the Kansas mom's case, right?
Mhm.
Where 2 of them are directly guilty and the other 2 are
Yes,
like Cole Twombly, right? Like
right.
they're like,
Exactly.
I don't know what's going on, but you guys are putting me up, so I'll go along with the ride. Oh
Mhm.
crap, you guys are doing some major illegal stuff. I'm doing illegal stuff on the side as well, so I'll just
Right. Which could have been
uh,
the Brandon and
like the
Adrian, could have been the Cole and
right.
Cora and
It's
Paul.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
self-preservation
Mhm.
effort more than anything else. This is not
Yeah.
looking out for the best interest of a 5-year-old who was entrusted within his own little community. Which, by the way, I'm very happy to see that no one in the chat has blamed the parents because I see that you've seen it too, Kari. We
Oh,
both
yeah.
have in true crime where the parents are directly blamed. That's not how life works, and we all know it. We all put our kids out there in the open in our neighborhoods thinking they're fine. They're okay. They can walk down the street, they can ride down the street, they can ride around the block, and they're okay. So I'm glad nobody in the chat has gone down that path because I would have an unhinged thing to say or two, whatever. Um, because Michael was in his safe space. He was in his neighborhood. That's supposed to be
Yeah.
fine. 5 years and no issues. So there's it makes my heart hurt. He's a 5-year-old. This is a horrible, horrible situation.
So I want to read a little portion of this probable cause that I did not put in my slides. And it's talking, okay, so they then towed Brandon's car back to Fruitland. Stacey said that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian went to Kuno,
Kari, hold on.
which is a town. Yeah.
Kari, hold on. Does anybody else hear Kari talking in high-speed chipmunk mode? Is it just
Am
me?
I
Because you
high-speed
sound
chipmunk mode?
Now you're fine. Now you're fine. A moment ago
Weird.
you were high-speed chipmunk mode for
I'm like, I'm
me.
too tired to be a high-speed chipmunk.
There it is again. It's
There's
happening
no,
again. Yes. See, Sarah Nurse hears it too. I'm not the only one that hears you in high-speed
really?
chipmunk mode. Yeah, now you're fine. That is the weirdest thing. Deb heard it too. I'm not the only. Okay, I'm not crazy. I'm like,
Okay, so I'm fine
man,
now,
you're
but am I
fine
fine now?
now. No, 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 my God. That is the weirdest thing. Holy crap. Whose internet are you on? Are you stealing internet
That's
over there?
weird. No, that's when I'm pulling up the PDF file of the affidavit.
Oh my
So
God,
hold on, let me.
that is the weirdest thing because you sound. I don't hear you in high speed chipmunk mode very often, but that was. Oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. Yeah, you were also breaking up. Thank you, Duck. You were also breaking up while you were in high speed chipmunk mode.
That is so strange.
Now you sound fine. God.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Well, let me
That's
see. Let
awesome.
me try to do it this way. Let's see if I can do it this way. Wild. Okay.
Yes, it was
Later.
Destiny Nurse. I thought I was alone, so I just let her go for a few seconds before I'm like, there's gotta be
I'm
another
glad you
person who hear this.
interrupted me.
Oh my God. I hate interrupting. I know I
Jeez.
talk a lot.
Am
and
I
so
in
when you
Lori's portal?
Oh my gosh,
Weird.
that's so
Okay.
funny. And no, folks, we're not going to
Let
read
me-
it word for word.
No. Okay. So there's just a small portion I wanted to read. Let me see if I can find it. I almost know what it says, but I don't want to misquote any of it. It's actually talking about Sarah and them getting money. All right, what's that
Money
page?
from who? Do you remember who it said from who? Was this like, this wasn't like a, when you say, okay, so you kind of set this up, it almost sounds like you're talking about sex trafficking, but we're not talking about sex trafficking of a child, right? Like he
No.
wasn't sold for goods and services.
Okay, here it is.
There it is.
In an interview, Stacey stated that Michael had a stuffed animal, some sort of a stuffed animal. I want to say like a dinosaur or monkey. And what I saw was a monkey. It was a green, looked like a green monkey. So there he's pretty detailed. In one interview, Stacey advised the lime green monkey was a dog toy that he and Sarah gave Michael to keep him quiet while he was sitting on the couch in their living room. Additionally, Stacey stated that the idea to take a child to sell for money was Adrian's, and they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacey was asked if Sarah provided any direction throughout any part of this. Stacey said that Sarah asked him and Brandon to follow her lead, which was to take the kid. Stacey recalled that most of the conversation at that point was Sarah trying to figure out what they were going to do. Sarah had asked Brandon, where should we put the body? And Brandon was like, well, you guys can take him over to my house and we'll deal with it. And that will buy us some time. So, but that's all it says about any kind of money. So Stacey stated the original idea was to take a child to sell for money. That was Adrian's idea. And they, I'm assuming Stacey and Sarah, would get $10,000.
Can you imagine how
Isn't that crazy?
yes, because you and I are decent human beings. We have a lot of decent human beings in our chat, if not all of them. How many of you would sell a human being out there in the world? Type one in the chat. This should be interesting.
Well, and I'd also like to know, who did they plan on selling him to?
Right, who do you know? Where's the
Where are
foundation
those,
for that?
and where are those people at?
That's
Did
so
you have a
okay,
buyer? And,
so
like, I don't know those answers,
well, and that
but
brings
I'm
about a
curious.
whole other avenue of possibilities. Is Monkey, aka Michael Vaughan, alive, not well, but sold as a human slave? Or had he been buried in the backyard where the dogs said they got
So
a sniff?
law enforcement is convinced that he's deceased.
So that means, Kari, and I know you can agree with me on this one, that means that law enforcement has some information they've not shared with the public. When they go that strong, that hard, that forceful
Oh,
in a
absolutely.
theory,
Yeah.
that means they have something specific. They cannot release it. And I know, and we've seen it on, I keep referring back to the Kansas mom's case because that's our biggest learning curve. That is our biggest go-to for information. I think it's the one case we have the most information for. If law enforcement says he's absolutely gone, we are focused
Right.
on these people. These people are our go-to. That means they have something solid. They just can't reveal enough information to convince the public without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt,
Right.
because you still have to have a jury. And so this goes back to my whole innocent. It's not innocent versus not guilty. That's not what it is. It's guilty versus not guilty. Those are two different meanings, despite what people think. And then I think these
My
people are
only
responsible for
issue
sure.
my only issue with this is, I've read a ton of probable cause statements, and this one does seem a little on the weak side for me. So I hope that there's more, I mean, there are the dogs. There is his confession video. I mean, they do have, they've got good evidence, but as far as it's an 8-page probable cause. It just lacks a little something for me, but maybe that's just me. I wonder how other people feel that have read it. If anybody in the chat read it, what their thoughts are on
I
that.
think the problem, so I've seen the videos of Stacey Wondra, quote unquote,
Hmm.
confessing to stuff and talking to reporters and whatnot. And I think that man has a lot of attention needs.
Yeah, and we're gonna watch a video on him,
Oh,
actually January of this year, where he wanted to clear his name, so he did an interview with the news, and we're gonna watch that.
we need to watch that sooner than later because I think this guy is a complete narcissist. I think he is doing a lot of gaslighting. I have training in some of this stuff, human behavior specifically because of my training. I don't believe this dude as far as I can throw him, and he's a large dude, so he's not going very far where I'm concerned. I think he
Right.
knows a lot more than he's leading on to. I think he and Stacey, or Sarah rather, his wife slash ex-wife, I think they've worked out a deal in a weird way. I think they know the law well enough, like they found enough loopholes that they're playing the law with their divorce because they have
Well,
spousal
yeah, because
privilege.
there was, one of them did ask, I believe it was Sarah, asked, about that, actually. She asked somebody about that. If you want to talk for just a minute, I'll
Yeah,
find
I
it.
think, and I need to go back and look. And for those of you legal buffs
Yes.
in the chat, fill me in, correct me, condemn me, whatever you want to do. But I think when you're married, during the time that the information is created, if it's created within the marriage, then that is protected by spousal privilege. Anything that happens outside the marriage is outside of spousal privilege, which would explain why a couple who are both being looked at for murder, especially of a small child, they can divorce and not worry about it. And I don't know. I need to look at Idaho law. I've become very familiar with Oklahoma law. I've become very familiar with Kansas law. I'm getting familiar with Colorado law just because of some of the cases that we look at, Missouri and Texas and Nebraska as well. And I think if you're married during the course of a crime, then spousal privilege is in effect. And I think if you divorce, no matter what happened post divorce, what happened during divorce is protected. But
Yeah, it usually is. And I did
you,
find that.
I think I did too. I was playing around in Chat GPT because my dumbass paid for it, but because it's easy to find stuff, and then I go back and I try to double check it. But for
So
those of you legal buffs,
there's a few more instances in here where there is, where they have admitted guilt. So I want to read these little portions. Following his interview with law enforcement, Stacey called his mother, Tamara Johnson, from the Washington County Jail on a video visit. Tamara asked Stacey if Michael was alive. Stacey shook his head no and said Sarah accidentally killed him. His mom asked how. Stacey said suffocation and went on to say they buried him in a duffel bag. After his interview and phone call to his mother, Stacey then wrote an apology letter to Michael's parents and then attempted to hang himself in his jail cell, but he was rescued by the Washington County jail staff. Let's see the rest of it. In June of 2022, Sarah called Kay Ramsey from jail and spoke about spouses being able to testify against each other in a recorded phone call from the Washington County jail to Sarah. Stacey expressed concern that Sarah was going to turn on him. Sarah confirmed that Stacey was referring to Michael Vaughan. Sarah told Stacey that she had already told her attorney that she was not going to turn on Stacey and that she was not going to testify against Stacey. And Stacey, in turn, reassured Sarah that he was never going to testify against her. So I wonder if they will at this point.
Oh,
Sarah, I can hear
uh,
your phone going off.
oh, I'll turn it off. That's weird because I thought it was protected. At Duck 1127 says just because couple married doesn't keep one spouse from testifying against another if they choose to, correct? That depends on the attorney. We again, we're falling back on Oklahoma law. We'll have to check some other states, specifically Idaho. But we saw, Kari and I specifically saw during a preliminary trial for murder case in Oklahoma, where the district attorney's office was cross-examining their witness. I don't know if that's the right term, actually. And then the prosecution stepped up and said, objection, spousal privilege. So I think it depends on how good the attorneys are and what they define as spousal privilege and whether or not the court agrees with that. So again, that requires some research in Idaho spousal privilege laws. I don't know if they're different state by state. I don't believe it's constitutional. I think it's state by state. But that's a really, really good question, Duck, by far. And I'm going to silence my phone so Kari can't hear it anymore. Kari,
I was muted.
You were muted. I'm like, where did she go? Good
So
Lord.
a quick Google search says that in Idaho, no, a person generally cannot be forced to testify against their spouse in a criminal case. However, this privilege has exceptions, such as cases involving criminal violence against the other spouse, a child, or other specific circumstances. Child abuse is another one. So generally, they cannot be forced to. So
Didn't think they had
that
to
kind
be
of
forced to, but I think again, and Duck brought up a really good point that made me think it's up to the attorneys, right? Like they got to catch that. Like the court will let some things slide. That's what the attorneys are there as sort of milestone markers for
Yeah.
things. Like that, it's not the court, and by the court you refer to the judge specifically, who says, "Hey, you can't say that because you're their spouse." The attorneys say, "Hey, you can't say that because that's your spouse." So
Right, exactly. Yes,
so that's
yes.
something we have to keep in mind of is the attorneys are the ones who try to balance out the law, and the judge is the one who says whether or not it is balanced.
Correct. That makes sense.
And I think we forget that, right? We have, I don't know about everybody else here. I have a lot of influence from all the true crime stuff and the crime dramas I watch and all that jazz. It's all real life is very different from Hollywood and from anything that's produced out there for our entertainment.
Yeah.
And so we got to remember that real life works very differently
Right.
than what we see on TV.
So as of June 2025, both Sarah and Stacey Wondra are formally charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction or concealment of evidence. Two other men, Brandon and Adrian, are named throughout the probable cause, but their whereabouts and charges remain unclear. And like I said at the beginning, I do believe Brandon was just very recently arrested on drug charges. But I don't want to go further because I truly don't know anything more than that. But as we do know, a lot of times they will bring them in on a lesser charge.
Especially
So,
if they can get information from them.
yes. Detective Kelleher's closing line reads, all 4 members of the household were involved in the abduction and killing of Michael Vaughan. So that's the official record, not YouTube theory, not Facebook gossip. But that is what the detective in the case truly believes.
That means they have evidence that says they have. So again, I fall back on the Oklahoma case Kari and I have been working on. There's things out there. There's things that exist that are not out there for public consumption yet. Kari and I have access to that information. I understand that last statement. Kari understands that last statement that went out there. There's probably very specific evidence that points to these people that can't be put out there yet. And it has to be protected for the court proceedings specifically.
Yes. All right. So now I want you guys to, this is about 7 minutes long. I'll have to stop it occasionally if Tara and I talk for fair use. But this is an interview that Stacey did January, I put 14, 2024, but I believe, yeah, so it was 2024. So let's watch this. And it's only about 7 minutes worth, so it's not too long. But it's pretty interesting in hindsight now that we know what we do know, right?
Yes.
The people of Fruitland police is now calling a suspect in the abduction of Michael Monkey Vaughan, spoke to News 7 Investigates Morgan Romero. Fruitland's police chief told us for the first time Stacey Wondra is a suspect in the little boy's disappearance. His wife Sarah was previously charged with failure to report Michael's death, but that charge was dropped several months later, though she remains a suspect. Now, along with the Wondras, police labeled 2 men who lived with them, Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, suspects who absolutely know what happened to Michael. 5 years old at the time, Michael disappeared from his Fruitland home on Southwest 9th Street on July 27, 2021. In November of 2022, we were there as crews searched and excavated the property where those 4 suspects lived, just 2-minute drive from the Vaughn's home. Police said they had credible information from someone living in the Wondras' house that Michael's body was there. Human remains, dogs alerted, but ultimately Michael wasn't found. Police believe Michael was buried in the yard and then moved. Fruitland police sent probable cause to the Payette County prosecutor last summer to be presented to a grand jury. Police Chief J.D. Huff says a grand jury hasn't convened yet, but they will soon. Although that case centers around the Wondras and their roommates, Stacey tells us he knows nothing about Michael's abduction.
Stacey Wondra, S-T-A-C-E-Y.
It's been 2 months since Stacey Wondra was released from federal custody, convicted of a gun crime unrelated to the disappearance of little Michael Vaughan.
And what have you been doing since?
I've been trying to live my life the best way I can.
Stacey agreed to interview with me to, quote, clear his name.
I have no reason to hide anything from anybody. I'm not that type of person. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, and I will tell you an honest answer to it.
Were you involved in the disappearance of Michael Vaughan?
No.
Why do police think you were?
I have no idea.
Stacey thinks law enforcement's case may hinge on Adrian Lucien, one of the men living with Stacey and his wife at the time Michael disappeared. One of the men police are calling a suspect.
Any clues or evidence that could point to that, from your knowledge?
No.
Okay.
I would never have thought Sarah or Brendan or Adrian would, maybe Adrian, but I wouldn't have thought Sarah or Brendan would have ever done something like this. I was not even home at the night of the disappearance. I know that at that nighttime, Sarah, Brandon, and I had.
But we know now that their cell phone tower and the cell phone records show that they were. It's just really interesting to listen back to. I remember watching this interview when it came out, and listening to what he's saying after knowing what's in that probable cause now.
Left to Cuna to go recover his tow his vehicle.
Elaborate on that day a little bit more. You said you were working?
Yeah, so I
Hey,
did a
Kari,
taxi
pause
ride
it
from
just a
Ontario to
second.
Boise. I know that I was gone.
So I was on mute. I was trying to jump in there and I was talking and I got cut off. There's something in his, as you played the video, that he said that's very, very important, because he speaks in a way that is easy to overlook. But he talks about how Stacey and Adrian, I think is who he referred to, he didn't imagine how either one of them could be involved in something like this. That's an unusual way to say my roommates, my wife, my roommate are innocent individuals. The way he words it acts like it seems like he has specific knowledge of something that he should not know about. Or it doesn't sit well with me at all, the way he says, the way he refers to the situation. He knows more than he's leading on to.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering what your thoughts were, and you weren't saying anything. I figured you were muted.
I was muted.
I was
I'm
like,
like,
wait,
blah, blah,
she
blah,
never
blah, blah.
says
I'm like,
it.
what the hell?
Tara always has something to say. There's no way she's quiet
True.
right
I
now.
just was like, I'm
What is?
muted. Yeah. I'll shut up now.
All right. No, you're fine.
A good portion of the day from like 1 p.m. in the afternoon to like about 4. Spent some time with a former coworker or boss that I used to work for. I think I spent maybe an hour and a half, and then had come back home. And the neighborhood was completely solitude. It was quiet.
Stacey claims he, Brandon, and Sarah left their house and headed to Kuna to tow Brandon's car around 5:30 to 6 p.m. on July 27, 2021. Brandon blew a spark plug and couldn't drive it, he says. Fruitland police believe Monkey went missing between 6:40 and 7 p.m. that night.
When we got back, I think about between 9 and 10 o'clock at night, we noticed there was an excessive amount of people out in the.
Okay, so real quick, right here. So the timeline and data with the cell tower records and surveillance video did place all 4 of them in the area when Michael vanished. But at 7:08 p.m., it shows Sarah driving the maroon GMC. Stacey was a passenger and Brandon was in the back. At 7:26 p.m., there is a selfie that Adrian took of himself in the Wondra's bathroom. And at 11:22, the GMC returns towing a Mercedes. So the cell phone data definitely goes against what Stacey is saying right here.
Community walking around the neighborhood. We had stopped and asked what was going on, and they said that a boy had been abducted or been taken, and it was news to me, and it was news to Sarah, what it seemed like, and Brandon. We got home, Brandon and Sarah decided they were going to go look for the boy, and I was in the process of getting the vehicle detached from the truck because it was taking up the whole length of the street pretty much.
Stacey later clarified to me he wasn't initially told Michael was abducted, just that he was missing. And where was Adrian that day?
Adrian and Brandon and Sarah all took a trip to Boise in the morning before I did my taxi ride. It was Adrian wanted to go see his kid.
He claims Adrian stayed in either Boise or Nampa all night.
Is that what they told you, or do you know that to be true for a fact?
I mean, that's just what I'm going based off of. I mean, I was told the same thing that's, all over. I wasn't with them.
Human cadaver dogs are highly reliable. Why did police tell you that human cadaver dogs pinged on your property at that home?
They didn't really give an explanation. They just said that the dogs had hit around the property. But, I mean, there was nothing. I don't even know how that's even feasible because like I said, I've never even heard of this kid. I've never seen this kid, never knew anything about him.
Police said that they believe Michael's body was buried there and then moved. Can you think of any time that his body would have been buried there and then moved? Does anything stand out to you?
Not at all. They were saying that he was buried by the shed. Makes absolutely no sense. There's been no dig marks. There's no trench marks. There's nothing.
Such a liar. Liar.
A complete grassed area.
Could it have happened when you weren't around and it was potentially covered up?
It could have, very possibly. I just know that I wasn't around for any of it. I have no idea. I would like to know what happened to him.
They did say that they were
All the
covering several
ideas. He
pieces
knows
of
exactly what
evidence.
happened. He knows what happened.
Well, yeah.
So
This
that I'm glad you paused right here. If you're a communications expert, if you understand nonverbal communication in regards to verbal communication, his words do not match his nonverbal communication. It's a cold day. The man is not stupid. He knew it was a cold day. His hands are in his pockets, not because they are cold. He's got his jacket wide open. She's bundled up. Yeah, she's significantly thinner, but he has his jacket opened up wide, single t-shirt on, and his hand, and it's not icy. There's melty water all around him, and his hands are in his pockets. Hands are a significant detail of telling the truth or hiding something. The hands and the eyes hide things immediately, and he's got his hands in his pockets hiding, but his torso is open. It is a nonverbal cue of try and hit me. My chest is open, but my hands are hiding. He's hiding shit. He is lying. Also, his feet not positioned firmly on the ground. He's got one that's cocked up underneath him, and it's a left foot, so it's his non-dominant foot. More than likely, he's probably right-handed because that's just the general population. Most of the population is right-handed. I happen to be left-handed, but I know most of the population is right-handed. He's hiding his right foot, so he's hiding the foot that's closest to her away from her. He's got it cocked underneath him to hide himself. The man is lying, full-fledged, way out there lying. That man
and he came out. I mean, he was all over YouTube. He's been all over. He'd do interview after interview with anybody that would ask him, and it makes me think sometimes about other cases. They'll be like, well, if they were guilty, or let's say, how can I word this? I don't want to give stuff away. Say there's one parent that definitely comes out and talks a lot, and there's another parent that's way more careful with it. The public tends to think that the parent that's being more careful and not doing all these interviews is guilty. They're hiding something. That's why they're not coming out talking. But that one that's doing it and ready to talk to anybody, God, they must be innocent, right?
Yeah. But in this guy's case, there's nobody coming to the aid of the others he's indicating, but not indicating. Like he's like,
right,
I'll tell you who's doing it without telling you who's doing it. But he's gone on every YouTuber's channel he can possibly find because he thinks if I go out to YouTube land and I make them think I'm innocent,
I can convince the public. Yeah, convince the public that
he is a narcissistic bastard. Then sassy nurses. There's several in the chat. Sassy nurses said it. A few others have said it. He is narcissistic as hell. The others don't have the confidence to go out there and put forth the story because they're insecure. They're super insecure. This guy leads with his insecurities and thinks it is winning. This guy is guilty as sin. And Kari, I remember when you sent me the link to this video and I sent you back my message saying that is a bullshitter. He is lying. He did it. He totally did it. This man is responsible. Absolutely responsible.
And if you go to my channel, I do have a playlist on Michael Vaughan, and so there's a ton of videos there about this case. So, all right, let's continue here.
Your home and on your property. Do you know what those pieces of evidence were?
Well, it's news to me.
The day after our interview,
he was playing with something.
Stacey gave a YouTuber a new piece of information.
I'm sorry.
A YouTuber.
As best as I can for you.
He, Brandon, and Sarah
as best as I can for you
in his car right after they left for Kuna the day Michael was abducted. He says they saw a child playing by himself on the sidewalk down the street around the corner from the Vaughn's home.
The kid that I saw did not depict Michael. I mean, he wasn't like a little kid. You know what I mean? Like he was. That's why I said he.
So now he saw a kid, but it wasn't that kid. This kid didn't look like that one for sure.
Did it concern me at all that he was out and about doing his thing?
Stacey says he doesn't know what's in the probable cause affidavit police sent to prosecutors. The one police say centers around him, Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon.
Do you think police have anything on you or your wife?
I personally know for a fact they don't have anything against me or on me. I have no knowledge. Again, I wasn't even home. I have no knowledge of who this little boy is.
Oopsie.
Whereabouts or anything about him.
In his interview with YouTuber, Stacey
Yeah, and I'm
Sarah's
the tooth
attorney
fairy.
told him he's no longer a person of interest in Michael's abduction. Chief Huff tells me
Except
that's not true. When I called Stacey's attorney to get a straight answer, his attorney told me, quote, "I have no comment at this time," and hung up. I also reached out to Michael's mom, Brandy Neal, to let her know about this interview airing. She was appreciative and said the most important thing in the world is to get Michael home.
Ugh. I love when folks.
Yeah. Hearing that now, it hits different, doesn't it? That same man, we just read about describing a duffel bag and duct tape, once sat in front of a camera insisting that he had nothing to do with it. He's done he was on a YouTube channel with Michael's mother and told her he had nothing to do with this and wanted to find her child. Unbelievable.
Do you know how many
So
people out there? I'm gonna hop on my soapbox for 10 seconds, maybe 30, perhaps 60. It'll be short. Do you know how many people are out there that will help look for the person they induced the disappearance of?
oh yes,
I mean, it is a
absolutely.
common
Well, and I think it might have
thing.
been somebody said it in the chat earlier. Yeah, Patrick. It sounds like he has a hero complex, like people that
Yep.
set fires and help investigate and then put the fire out and save victims, or they'll return to the scene to watch, the first responders, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it is and the hero complex, Patrick, thank you for putting that out there.
Yes.
It's a narcissistic trait. It can be, but it is very much more a self-preservation tactic. I don't want to be guilty, so if I help look for the victim, I look less guilty, because why would I look for the victim if I know where the victim's at? And cops have
Right.
learned to
Yeah.
look, they've been trained now to look for specific red flags. This is all over true crime genre stuff everywhere you look. It is amazing how many people will help in those tactics. This
Absolutely.
dude here is exactly that. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I mean, it is. I'm not going to tell you that it is. But I wasn't home at the time. And yet I know exactly what happened, because I'm going to tell the cops where the body is buried, which is exactly where the dogs are going to signal at, the cadaver dogs. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this dude is something. If you guys haven't seen that video, Kari, we need to find that and put that in the chat if you don't have it ready to go, because this same dude goes back. The guy that says he has no knowledge, no idea, no inclination of anything, he goes back to police during an interview and says, "All right, I know where he's buried. Put me on FaceTime and I'll show you guys exactly where." From the jailhouse in an orange jumpsuit, he's like, "I'll tell you where the kid's buried at." So yeah, this dude, his lies cannot be freaking believed. He is.
Well, I hope that they are getting close to arresting Adrian and Brandon. Sarah is currently locked up, but I imagine when hers is up, she's going to be transferred as well, because there's a probable cause for her for the same exact charges. So that's all I have on Michael Vaughan this evening. I've been following it for 3 years, and I'm going to continue to. So I really appreciate you guys joining us. And if you hadn't heard of Michael's story before, thank you for sitting here and listening to it. And I hope that you learned something from this. And also, since today is Veterans Day, I want to pause for a second to thank all the veterans who served, and everyone watching tonight or in the replay who's worn that uniform or supported someone who did. We appreciate your service and your sacrifice.
Can I add on to that?
Of
Is that
course
okay
you
for real
can.
quick? I've said for a long time, and this is close, near and dear to my heart. I lost my brother-in-law from my first marriage. He was a veteran, and he was in Operation Iraqi Freedom when we lost him. So veterans are very, very near and dear to my heart. And not just because I lost my brother-in-law, but because every individual who chooses to serve gives the space for individuals like myself and Kari, those of us in the chat, to not serve. So it's super, super important what these individuals do when they offer. They're not just serving this country, they're telling us, I will give my life so that everybody else can have their freedom.
Exactly.
That's a significant sacrifice to make, and to their families that make that sacrifice
One of the most
intentionally.
unselfish sacrifices you
It's
can make.
amazing.
Going into it
Yep.
knowing that something bad, same with law enforcement and things like
Yes.
that. So we appreciate you very much. And before we wrap up, a huge thank you to my co-host Tara. Do you have your shenanigans link that you can put in the chat real quick?
Let me go find
You
it
guys
real
know
quick.
Tara, she's the heartbeat of these lives. She keeps chat running. She keeps me running. She keeps facts straight while I'm up here reading. Helps remember
She is
words.
lying to y'all. Do
She
not
helps
listen
me.
to her.
She helps me be on time, things like that, except for tonight. So thank you very much, Tara. I always appreciate you. And she's going to drop her link in the chat for you guys. I'll also pin it to a comment on the video so that you can join us over there. And we are typically there Thursday evening. So again, thank you for spending your evening here. Keep sharing Michael's story because Michael has not been found. Please keep sharing Michael's story. And to our veterans and to Tara, thank you. And I will see you all next time.
You guys have a great night.
Night, guys.